we're going to be testing different foods or substances for the type of saccharide or sugar that it has in it. And if you remember, we talked about the three types of saccharides. You have monosaccharides, which are what? One sugar, right? A single sugar. Disaccharides are two, and then poly would be multiple or many. Okay, so saccharide means sugar, and then the prefix in front of it tells you how many there are. In these test tubes, I have monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. When you do your lab, you are going to have to get 2 test tubes for your food, and you'll put a piece of food in each of the test tubes so that you can test for the different types of saccharides. Now, I know we're doing 3, but I'm going to show you the tests for what you're going to use. These tests are called indicators, and we have 2 indicators that we're going to use today. The first one is this light blue one, and it's called Benedict's solution. So Benedict's has that pretty blue color, and iodine has that reddish brown color. In order to have a positive result, it has to have a color change. Make sure that you're aware that sometimes water dilutes it, so it's going to look lighter, okay? So make sure that you are actually seeing a color change and not a dilution. The other thing is sometimes things will start cooking in the water bath. Are you cooking it and the actual color is seeping into the the indicator, or is it really changing because of the food? So we'll talk about that too. So when you are doing a test for Benedict's, okay, you're going to have to use what's called a water bath to do this. So you're going to put a squirt of Benedict's in your test tube, and see how it turned lighter blue because it's diluted. And then you're going to set it down in the test tube, or in the water bath. The same substance in the other test tube, you're going to test it for starch. So Benedict's is a test for glucose or monosaccharide. This is a test for starch, iodine. So it doesn't take a lot of iodine in order to do this. Just a drop or 2 is all you're going to need, and let it just slide down into the water. So this is already a red-brown color. Did you actually see a color change in here, or is it just it's diluted in the water? Do you think because it's still reddish brown, isn't it? It's just in the water. So that would be a negative. On your paper on page 3, there's a chart. It says monosaccharide, disaccharide, and polysaccharide. See it? Right there. That's it. So we did monosaccharide, and we just did the starch test for that. So under iodine, for the starch test on monosaccharide, do we have a positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. So you can put an X in that box. All right. I think we can look at our monosaccharide now. So carefully, when you go to get it, when you're getting the test tube out, you're going to squeeze and you're going to put this around the test tube. What do you think? Do we have a positive? Yeah, that changed colors, didn't it? It's like a yellow color. So under monosaccharides for Benedict's, you have a positive. Okay? Let's try disaccharides. So you go ahead and put your Benedict's down in there, and I'm going to put that down in the water bath. And in the other one, I'm going to do iodine. Do we see any color, or is it still that red-brown color? Still red-brown, right? So under disaccharide, is that a positive or negative for iodine?
Negative.
Negative. Okay? So we're waiting on that one. I'm going to go ahead and put my starch, and it likes to hang out at the bottom. So this is just potato starch, my polysaccharide. Notice it did get a light blue, but that's because it's mixing with that powdery starch. So I'm going to put that down in there. Remember, I did starch here, disaccharide there. And on my other one, I'm going to go ahead and do my iodine test. It only takes like 2 drops. Give it a little swirl and look at that. Positive or negative?
Positive.
What color did it become?
Black.
Black. That's a positive for starch. So if this substance contains a polysaccharide, you're looking for a black. Okay? So we'll go ahead and we'll take our disaccharide solution out carefully. And it's still blue. So that is a negative under disaccharide. Okay? Let's go ahead and get our starch out. Carefully take the starch out, and it's still blue. That's a negative. Okay. So you should have, if it's a monosaccharide, it's going to be positive for Benedict's, negative for iodine. Disaccharides will be negative for both. And then if it's a starch or polysaccharide, it's negative for Benedict's and positive for iodine. Okay? Now, we're looking for color changes, right? So this went from blue to what? What color did you see?
Orange.
Now it's orange, isn't it? So you can see it's almost like a rainbow. You may get orange, you may see like red, rusty brown color, green. Be careful about the green. We'll look at that one because sometimes you cook things and then it turns yellow and then it turns the solution green. So we'll watch that one. You get you can even get purple. Okay, you may have a purple one. On iodine, it's just going to go to black. Okay, so this will tell you monosaccharide. This one will tell you poly. If you have a negative and a negative, that is a disaccharide. Okay? Are there any questions? Yes.
Did you get another color besides black?
For starch?
Yeah.
No. It may be a bluish black, but you're gonna see black in there. Sometimes the black is not in the liquid, it's on the food. So sometimes you'll have to come up here and pour a little bit of the liquid off of the food and then look closely at the food itself to see it, okay? Because these are pretty large chunks of potato and things, so you'll want to pay attention to that. It is possible to get 2 positives. What do you think that would mean if you got 2 positives for this? If it got positive for Benedict's and positive for iodine, what does that tell you? What kinds of sugars are in there?
Starch.
Starch is in there and monosaccharides. Is it possible to put more than 1 sugar in a food?
Yes.
Yeah, think of a cake, right? Your cake has flour. That's a starch, right? You put icing on your cake, don't you? That's really sweet, so that's a simpler sugar. So it is possible to have more than 1 sugar on there. So it's okay if you get 2 positives at times. Just make sure you know This is coming up as a polysaccharide, this is coming up as a monosaccharide, okay? Are there any questions, other questions? Okay, we're done.